Hey guys, what's up? It's the PipeDream here. Thank you for checking out another video. Let's jump right into it. Today, I want to talk to you about why Tim left the Philippines. All right, got a crazy story here. I hope you guys will listen to the end. So, let me tell you Tim's story. Tim meets his girlfriend through like a Facebook church post, right? He's in the comments, he sees a girl, and he reaches out to her. She's got 4 kids, and Tim don't care. So he starts communicating with her through social media, right? He adds her Facebook. They start talking. After a while of talking, he flies out to meet this woman. After 6 months of chatting, Tim flies out to the Philippines. He meets this woman, and like a lot of people, especially anyone who didn't do any research, Tim leads with his wallet. He's trying to, you want to be liked by the family, so it happens to a lot of guys. And so he impresses the family, right? He builds them a driveway. He builds them a restroom. He built a tub, shower, hot water heater. During a typhoon, several of this woman's relatives had their roof damaged. Well, Tim said he forked over like 300,000 pesos to pay for new roofs. He sent rice and canned goods monthly. He really tried to reach out and be liked and make an effort with this family, right? Well, after a certain amount of time went by, Tim married this woman. Tim married this woman, and he built a house. You know, these guys, man, they follow patterns. But he built a house. Where did he build the house, guys? On family property. So while Jim's building this house on that woman's family property, he'd fly out, stay 5 or 6 weeks, visiting resorts and hotels, island hopping. He's in vacation mode. He would do this. He'd go back home, stay a few months, work, and make the trip again. Tim said the family lived in like a compound. He said he could spit and hit his neighbor's porch. That's how close all of the houses were, or what their dwellings, whatever it is they're living in. To get anywhere, Tim had to walk past a path that went right by the relative's house. All right, let's get into Tim's wedding day. On Tim's wedding day is where a lot of the animosity started with Tim and his wife's family. So it's his wedding day, and he has it at the house, right, where they build it on the family property. And a bunch of the relatives don't even show up. But but then they showed up for the after party, but not really. They showed up to steal food and beer to take home. One of the relatives was caught stealing a lot of food, taking it back to her house, and she took several cases of beer too. Tim was actually watching this with a friend from the top floor of his house. So he's watching all of this as it's happening. And Tim has an expat friend who advised Tim, hey, just let it go. It's your wedding day. And you know what? So Tim did. Tim let it go. So, as time would pass after the wedding, the relatives would play loud music and they'd keep their backs turned towards Tim and his wife anytime they walked by the path. And the relatives, they'd get really drunk, and after they'd get drunk, they'd get a little violent and they'd start throwing coffee mugs at Tim's house. This would happen time after time. One day, when walking home, one of the relatives threw a coffee cup at Tim, and this time it almost nailed his wife. And Tim, he had enough, and he called the police on the family. So this is also it's later at night or whatever when this happens, right? When the police arrive, the family turned all the lights off and pretended that they had been asleep, and the cops totally bought it. Tim told the cop, I seen them. They weren't sleeping, but they didn't care. The cops did nothing, and they left. And so this cycle repeated itself a few times until one day Tim found the cousin alone. I guess this cousin, he knew how to kind of avoid Tim, but he found him alone and he confronted him. And Tim told the cousin, "Hey man, you could really hurt someone. That almost hit my wife. It's time to stop." And the cousin laughed, and then he made a gesture to his throat, insinuating, that he would delete Tim. So Tim grabbed the cousin after the throat gesture, and he pushed the cousin to the ground or stiff armed the cousin. I heard, he told two different versions of this part of the story, and then the cousin ran off. A couple weeks later, Tim ran into the wife's cousin again, and this time the cousin had a couple men with them, and they were drinking, and a fight breaks out. And they start trying to hit Tim with beer bottles. Over 15 bottles were thrown. One of them hit Tim's underage biological son right in the face. It shattered on the kid's face. But there's no blood, right? Like you can't tell the damage is done. But the kid was telling him, like, "Hey, man, something don't feel right. Something don't." It knocked the kid out too, by the way. Anyway, so an ambulance comes. The police, they also show up, and when the police get there, they were only asking the attackers questions. And it was obvious they only wanted to take the side of the locals. Tim was angry. He was shouting, "There they are!" Tim's Filipino wife was there, and one of the cops told the wife, "Hey, if he don't shut up and sit down, we're going to shoot him." So Tim exited, out of that situation. He knew he couldn't be around those cops. And so the cops, they never charged anyone for the attack. In fact, there was only a police report on Tim for being loud. Because, like we said, at first you couldn't tell the damage that was done to the son. So the cops let it go. It wasn't until the kid gets to the hospital that they realized, that he had a brain fracture. He crushed the kid's skull with that beer bottle. So his kid's taken by ambulance. He's 17 years old. He's got a brain fracture, and he needs surgery. He gets the surgery. They had like Phil Health or whatever, but there's lots of out-of-pocket cash had to be spent to pay for this surgery. And they said cash was hard to find. It turned out to cost about 500,000 pesos. Phil Health paid 170,000 of the 500,000. And about 3 weeks later, after some surgery and 500,000 pesos later, this boy, he was released from the hospital. After the damage was known, the cops were forced to charge the relatives and arrested him. And then the relatives sued Tim, claiming, "Hey, they were claiming the cousin got injured with the encounter that they had earlier, where Tim had pushed the cousin down to the ground." And Tim is currently suing the family for medical bills. He feels confident that they'll have to give up their land and move. The wife of the attacker even tried to convince Tim's wife to drop the charges, as her husband is looking at decades in prison. Really crazy story, guys. Let me know. What do you think about this one? What did Tim do wrong? What did Tim do right? Uh, yeah, I would just love to hear your guys' opinion on this one. And thank you for listening. And if I won't ask you to subscribe, but if I could get a like or a comment, that would be awesome. Shout out to my 3 subscribers. What's up? Thank you guys. Peace out.